So this week I thought I'd share the notes that I made from the APA Level 3 sports course relating to shoulder injuries. We had two shoulder talks, one related to swimmers and the other related to throwers and overhead athletes. One of the most interesting things to come out of the swimming talk was that they had found the use of strength ratios with dynamometry had a predictive effect for pain, at least similar to the groin squeeze measures. And for those of you not familiar with the research around groin squeeze testing in athletes, you take a max measure of hip adduction, originally using a blood pressure cuff, and what they found was that strength would trend downwards before something would actually get hurt. So if someone would actually get pain. So if you're monitoring strength regularly and you see it start to trend down, you potentially can use and perform an intervention before they start feeling pain and hopefully avoid an injury. And in the talk back in February, they had done a lot of testing and research with the Australian swim team and found that a dynamometry strength ratio of 3:2 for them for internal rotation to external rotation, was a drop in that ratio seemed to be predictive in the same sort of way of shoulder injuries. So I thought that was really interesting, and that sort of coupled with from the throwers talk that a lack of upward rotation of the scapula seemed to precede shoulder pain as well. So I haven't quite figured out how you might be able to monitor that one as regularly in a team, depending on your manpower and all that sort of thing. But again, an interesting thing to try and baseline and track to hopefully head off and prevent injury or pain in your athletes. Another thing that came out of the throwers talk related to the labrum. They talked about it being about needing about 50 kilos of force to dislocate a shoulder when your labrum is intact, compared to about 2 kilos of force if you've already got a torn labrum. But as we went through the talk and in my experience recently with other players, and research is suggesting now that they're not so sure that repairing the labrum is actually necessary to maintain shoulder function. But I find that hard to get my head around if there's such a massive drop in force tolerance at the glenohumeral joint with a torn labrum, then why would you not want to repair that and try and restore that vacuum to help keep the shoulder stable? So that was something really interesting that I'm still trying to get my head around. They seem to also find in throwers particularly that you would lose external rotation strength over the course of the season, and a lot of athletes in their particular areas lose strength over the course of a season. But in throwers, it was hypothesized that possibly this is a suprascapular nerve neuropraxia, and it's not so much a true loss of strength as a loss of ability to recruit. So again, that was an interesting thing for anyone that works with throwers to monitor and potentially try and avoid injury from there. And it made me think about could you use or should throwers regularly use your upper limb tension tests, your sliders and your gliders and all that kind of thing to manage any sort of neuropraxia build-up from their amount of throwing, particularly in season, so that they don't lose strength and therefore lose stability of the shoulder and therefore put themselves at risk of injury. And the other kind of question that I took out of the throwing talk was, it's a well-known phenomenon of the posterior capsule thickening over years of throwing, and I wondered whether if you get throwers on a regular stretching program early enough, would you slow that thickening of the capsule because you're restoring baseline range of motion regularly after throwing? I don't know the answer to that, but just something I took away and tried to think about. Love to hear anyone's thoughts. Hit me up, Twitter, Instagram, LukeWilson21. Shoot me an email through the website. Otherwise, until next time, ta.